probably wondering why I'm standing out here in our beautiful golf course and not playing golf. Well, I'm here for a really great reason. I'm with Danny Hansen of the Western Bluebird Club. Did I say that right? Western
Bluebird Club, yeah.
And we're here today to talk about the bluebirds here in Laguna Woods Village. You know, this has been a very hot topic right now, and a lot is going on. The placement of the boxes, and a lot of the boxes are deteriorating. And you're on the forefront of this. You're the one. You're kind of one of the caretakers of all this, right?
Yes, I was asked to coordinate a program that had begun in the mid 1980s. And what we found of the 1,130 bluebird boxes that had been placed in the village since then, that many had become dilapidated, run down, and the biggest problem is the amount of grass that one bluebird family would need to feed at the end of a fledgling cycle. There are 6 babies that are adult size plus the 2 adults, and what we have here is the demonstration of what one bluebird family requires.
Yeah, that's amazing. I never would have thought that. I thought that all they would need would kind of be like the size of this tea box that we're standing on here. But yeah, I think that's what most people would think. Well, I understand that there's a box just right down the course here, and we're going to take a walk down there and talk more about it when we get there.
Let's go to the pepper tree.
So Danny, we're coming up to one of the bluebird boxes here that are right along the course, and this one's in pretty good shape from what I understand. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I understand there's some fledglings inside this box, right?
Yes, these are actually the first fledglings I'm going to look at this year probably. I haven't opened it up yet, but last week there were eggs in there.
Now, I asked you a little bit earlier, you were just kind of giving me some details. Isn't this disturbing to them for you to open this up and see how many are in there?
Yes, they're very territorial, and they do not like me or squirrels or cats or anything else coming near, and they will dive bomb us probably just to let us know their displeasure.
Watch out for them. Now, since I don't really know the patterns of bluebirds, do they hatch once a year in spring like most people think? Is it twice a year? What is it?
They will have a nest, usually around April, and they will have a 3-week actual period where after they hatch, they will fledge. And they can do this twice or up to 3 times in 1 year.
Okay.
Depending on if you get the box cleaned and ready for them right away, or there's another dead tree or snag for them to go to.
So tell me why this program, whether it's here in the village or throughout Orange County or throughout the nation, why are these bluebird boxes so important? Can't they find places to live on their own?
And that's the perfect question. The problem is simply that bluebirds live in what's called a snag, or a dead tree. A dead tree in California that they're still observing has over 70 species existing, living, eating off of a dead tree. It takes about 20 years to complete the process. They're safer than regular trees because they're not as fire prone. They're actually safer.
Really?
Yes, it's because of you have all of the leafy thin stuff. Have you ever tried to burn a log?
Right.
You have to break it up.
Yeah.
So it's very hard, and we've taken every single dead tree around here out of here, and that leaves no home. So we simply provide a box.
And these are all made out of wood. And I asked you earlier, I noticed that some photos that you had sent me that some of them were painted blue. I think people walking around are expecting to find a blue box, but you prefer them not painted, right?
For weight purposes, plus the cedar is naturally resistant to the moisture, and it's inexpensive. We've got cedar boxes have been around for years. What our club has done is actually adapted the hooking mechanism to make it much simpler, less expensive, easier to operate and do a monitoring, which we'll see soon.
What about the amount of boxes that were here in the village? I know we've seen you talk at some of the meetings that there were something like 1,100 boxes, and we just got through talking about how their habitat to be able to feed their young is much bigger than most people would think, right?
In United, as an example, the area between gates 1, 2, 3, 4, where I've done my study at, there are now 9 boxes that are thriving in that area because of the amount of acreage that's available. There's very little. And what we need to do is, today we just saw a robin as we were walking down here. Robins and other animals and birds that eat off the grass, now they can also, we're not using every space for bluebirds.
So a lot of these boxes, I know many of them deteriorated, but were eliminated. But in a sense, this makes the population of the bluebirds thrive.
Actually, it's gone up. I've more than doubled what the other people in the village have done with their boxes, with a huge percent fewer. They're running 20 boxes, some of them, and only 1 bluebird will be existing in it.
So Danny, how did the community get up to 1,100 boxes or whatever that high number is, and to the point where, like you were saying, it was probably way too many?
This came out of the Audubon Club, founded in the 80s too by Manny Ackerman and carried on by Earl Garrison afterwards. They felt it was an ideal environment for the bluebirds, not realizing at the time how much space they actually needed. Some of this information is newer.
Okay.
And I've tried to apply the best practices of bluebirding. And the first practice is location, location, location.
And of course, many of these boxes on their own have deteriorated over the years. I mean, they are made out of wood after all, and whether it's cedar or whatever it might be, naturally they're going to deteriorate, right?
Yes, and that's why we have a person that does exclusively the wood shop making boxes that we need, but he's not really needed as much as they were because there's just way too many.
How long will these boxes last? How often do you have to trade them out? Do they need to be cleaned just because of the bluebird season by season?
They get cleaned after every nesting.
Okay.
So that's 2 to 3 times a year I will actually clean them out totally. And replacing the boxes, this is year 3 and we haven't replaced any. The door hooks are the only things that break off, but yeah.
What about, you mentioned that maybe up to 3 times a year they have their hatchlings, their fledglings. Is it the same family, or once they grow up, they all move out?
Actually, it becomes a family affair. The kids will buzz you too, as well as the mom and dad. They hang around near the nest. It's kind of the security for them to have a safe spot from bad weather.
Okay. So Danny, I understand that you folks have developed this kind of special pole to take these down. So tell me the steps. How do you do this? You know, there's several feet up. They're 10, 12 feet up, right?
Usually about 9.5 feet is our reach limit, which we want to be above water sprinklers, and the worst predator of all has been quoted many times is man. And we need to get human intervention out of it as much as we can. The boxes themselves, you'll see the hook. It's a much more demonstration than it is explanation of how simple it works. Dave Southworth, one of the residents in United that was helping out at the time, invented this little arrangement, and it's so cheap, and when you see it you'll go, wow, that's cool.
So these Bluebird boxes, are they based on a national design? In other words, did someone come up with an idea saying, this is about how big they are, this is sort of a standard that everyone should follow?
Bluebirds are real specific in the size of opening that they will go to. The woodpecker will start the hole, and when it gets to a certain size, the bluebirds will take over it. And that's how they determined what dead tree they'll go to, depending on the size of the hole.
Okay, what about the other birds? I don't know anything about robins or whatever, but do they nest the same way? Are they going to try and get in there?
Robins are not cavity nesters. They will build a nest actually in the tree.
Okay, you don't have to worry about robins.
Yes.
Anything else? What about blue jays? I understand when you talk about bluebirds, you're not talking about blue jays.
Blue jay, the California jay, I've seen in the mountains, and I haven't seen them around here, but I'm not a blue jay expert for sure. And the bluebirds, there's 3 types. There's the eastern bluebird and the western bluebird, and you don't see them crossing the Rocky Mountains. And then the mountain bluebird is all blue, and the western bluebird has an orange chest like a robin. That's the 3 types of bluebirds.
I didn't realize it had an orange chest. So somebody wants to get involved with the Western Bluebird Cup. What can they do? What do they need to know? And do you have monthly meetings, weekly meetings?
Right now, we're trying to get established to be able to do this. No one has ever had permission to put anything on the common grounds. We've just gotten the first permission after 2.5 years to put these boxes in GRF trees. We're still waiting on United and Third for approval.
Okay, wait a minute though. They've been in trees for years and years and years. They weren't officially allowed, is that it?
No one ever followed protocol.
Okay, so that's something you want to establish. Once protocol and is followed, and you basically have a plan that the mutuals and GRF all kind of know about, that kind of makes it easier for everyone to maintain these and keep propagating these bluebirds, right?
It needs a coordinated program, comprehensive, just something that's going to work. This isn't working.
So Danny, this is really great what all you folks are doing here, and doing it the right way, making a coordinated effort to take care of these bluebirds. I didn't know anything about them. I just thought, like any other bird, they kind of fend for themselves, and I guess in certain situations they do. But here in the village, you really need folks like you to kind of look after them, right?
That we do, and it doesn't require a lot of work. It's probably one of the monitors does the par 3 course in an hour.
Yeah, not too bad. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate bringing us out here today and educating me and educating everyone else about the importance. You've been hearing a lot about this, and now you kind of know what it really is about. Danny, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken, very much.